Boo, 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 boo. And I believe, welcome back to the stream. It is your host Miley Startled, and today I do apologise. I want to get around to playing Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, but it's going to be a long one, and I want to do it on the weekend. And glad I was a bit lazy throughout the week. Throughout the weekend or the Easter bank holiday, I just didn't really do a lot. I went to the gym, which took a lot out of me. I'm a bit of an unfit boy these days, but I promise, I will get around to doing Omega. So I'm not sure if we'll finish it, because if you're used to watching my streams, used to watching the channel, you know that I very rarely finish my games, which well, I suspect will be very grating for you. I do apologise, but like I said, if you want any of the games continued, just give me a shout, just give me a comment, and I will continue on. Anyway, now that the dust is settled and it's a weekday, we are moving on to play a bit more Hearts of Iron 4. Why? Because there's not a lot of strategy games out, sadly, and some of the mods have been updated to be a bit more working, or a bit more workable, and not one step back the latest expansion for Hearts of Iron 4. So we're going to be playing the Great War mod, which is on the Steam Workshop. It's still not fully operational, and I'm going to show you why once I start the game. But it's still pretty good fun. It's like a different take on the Hoi 4 combat. It's a bit more slow and grindy. But without further ado, let us continue on. So we'll be playing Italy. I've already played Italy just to make sure it ran, but we'll be playing Italy again. So with Italy, you've got Libyan claims allowing you to engage in the war in Libya, and the secret deal with France allowing you to switch sides. Of course, Italy's quite a strong nation well, not a strong nation, but quite a unique nation in World War One, because initially they had a deal with the Habsburgs and the German Empire with the Triple Alliance, which they later reneged on, and then switched sides once they realised that potentially they could have gained more by joining with the Allies than they did with the Germans and the Austro-Hungarians. Unfortunately, this didn't really work well for historically, because they didn't do very well on the Isonzo front. Leading to the meme, 12 times the charm, Luigi Cadorna, because of the nature of that front. It was a bit of a grind, and after constant attacks by the Italians, what basically achieved very little. The Germans and Austro-Hungarians counterattacked, and I think they wiped out about a quarter of the Italian army, and they had to be fully supported by the Allies afterwards. They eventually did make gains and counterattacked the Italians towards the end of the war, but because of how badly they did, they didn't really get much from the peace deal, and in consequence, it led to a lot of bad faith and sour grapes from the Italians, which would eventually lead, of course, to the rise of fascism. A very interesting period of history. So let's take a look at the map. So the first thing I would take into account is that the latest mod hasn't got a lot of supply points within the city, within the countries themselves. This means that after you've fought over the actual front lines, you have a bit of a grind as you stop, build another supply line, push forward, stop, build another supply line, and push forward, meaning that breakthroughs are very difficult to achieve. On one hand, you could say it's a bit of a sloppy product of trying to update the mods for the new railway system. On the other, I quite like the slowness of it. It does simulate trench warfare and slowness a bit more. You're not going to achieve very decisive breakthroughs. You're going to have to stop for a while and rebuild and build these supply depots, and the defending troops will have better access to supply and will be able to counterattack a bit better. So we have World War One. So of course we've got the Russian Empire, which unfortunately during the time period was still industrializing and had a lot of social turbulence. This would eventually lead to the Octoberist revolt, I believe, and then of course the collapse of the Tsar. Very interesting period, World War One. I'd say it's even more. I'd risk and say that it's actually more interesting than World War Two. World War One I found was a much more poignant change in technology and warfare compared to World War II, which was just like, let's build better tanks, or let's build better planes. Whereas here you had the introduction of tanks, the introduction of planes, and the rapid change of warfare from wars of maneuver to stalemate to eventual breakthrough and mass firepower. Of course, you have the French, who are still rather bitter about losing Alsace-Lorraine in the 1890s, was it? 1870s, with the Franco-Prussian War, which led to the end of the Third Emperor, I believe, the other Napoleon, who actually was pretty good at a lot of things apart from warfare. And unfortunately, well, he didn't do too bad. I think the Third Napoleon got a bit of a bad deal. He actually, in fact, did rather well against the Austro-Hungarians in the south. He did rather well in the Crimean War. He just didn't do very well in the Prussian War. And as you know, dictators, one bad war equals one equals normally coups and collapse of your dictatorship. So much was the fact, or much was the end result of the Third Napoleon. I'm going to kick myself because I can't remember his first name, but oh well. And he's a very interesting portrait. If you Google it, I think it's the Sedan, no, Verdun, where you can see Napoleon just surrounded and forlorn, and thus ended his dictatorship. And of course, you then have the British, and of course Edward the Seventh, and of course eventually later on, I think. Got his name, I do apologise, but it will occur as the game goes on. And of course, you had Lloyd George and Haig and all that sort of thing. And over here, you'd have Pétain and eventually so on and so forth. Now, the Spanish, I don't really know much about during this period of history. I think they were neutral throughout the First World War and the Second World War. So actually, they did rather well out of both World Wars, if you think about it. And of course Austro-Hungary. Now, historically, Austro-Hungary was a multi-ethnic empire. So, of course, you had the Austrians, the Hungarians, you had Serbs and the Czechs and so on, all under one big empire. And this made it rather difficult for them to operate because, of course, with the rise of nationalism, or we were beginning to see the rise of nationalism in a multi-ethnic empire, it became very difficult to mobilize all the members of society, and it became very apparent in the military systems where you'd have officers speaking, say, Austrian, and then, of course, the rank and file speaking a completely different language, which made it very difficult for command and control. You could, if you were a bit more political, say this is probably a watchword for multi-ethnic societies and the dangers of multi-ethnic empires, but the sad reality of it was Austro-Hungary was very much held back by a lot of old and dated political systems and hodgepodge political ideologies. So it's very different. So they had a monarchical system, but also an ethnic system with also pseudo-democracy in the Congress and the Duma. It just was all a bit of a hodgepodge of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And economically and industrially, it was struggling around this point. Not as badly as other nations, but it was rather badly in a bad state, which only warfare would eventually lead to the rise in ethnic and social tensions and political tensions, and that would render it the end of the empire. Of course, you've got the German Empire, which during the period is actually the rising star. So through the 19th century, the separated states of Germany began to form, and eventually you had the two blocks. You had the German Confederation, or the Northern Federation, and then you had the Southern Federation with the Austro-Hungarians, Northern Federation of the Prussians and the Saxons, and so on and so forth. And eventually led to the Brothers' War, which the Germans won, or the Prussians won. And then after having the war with France, they eventually formed the German Empire. As an industrial figurehead and a rising star in terms of industry and resources, it really began to threaten the status quo, leading to the French and the Russians, and including the perfidious Albion, the British, to begin to move to contain Germany. Meanwhile, Germany's leader, I believe Wilhelm, but not this guy, little Willie, would eventually aspire to more imperial views about Germany's place in the sun, wanting more African clay, and of course wanting to reform the power of the great concert of Europe, and attempting to change the status quo. And of course, you have the British. The British had been, well, effectively supreme at this state. We had the British Empire spanning 1/3 of the globe. We still had Canada's dominion, Australia, the British Raj, large portions of Africa. The British were really the top dogs in terms of navy and in terms of politics. We were during the Victorian period, thus named under Queen Victoria, really the supreme dominant balancer of power in Europe. and this meant that in order to maintain our position, we were always looking to make sure that no power in Europe itself gained the upper hand. This would eventually, of course, lead us to join the war against Germany, and in the ensuing World War, weaken us severely and eventually really lead to the gradual dissolution of the British Empire. You could argue that the end of the First World War began the decline of the British Empire, and then World War II cemented that decline and resulted in our decolonization. And of course, we have America. Now, the United States had just finished its America's Civil War in the 1860s, and I will be honest with you, I don't know a lot about what the Americans were doing during the Victorian period afterwards, apart from perhaps expansion westwards and some manoeuvring in the Pacific. But for this stage, America still had remained fairly isolationist and hadn't really looked outwards as of yet. This would eventually change in 1917 with the sinking of Lusitania, and of course the great telegram, I've got the name of it, with the Germans and the Mexicans, which would lead to Americans interfering. And this is really the period where you start to see the gradual growth of the United States influence in the rest of the world. Still, it wouldn't really come into fruition until the Second World War, but because of things like the Great Depression and so on. But because of the First World War and the desire for trade with the United States and the desire for loans and land lease and things like that, America would begin to rise rapidly as an economic power and eventually rise as a military power and so on and so forth. But in the First World War period, it still remains fairly isolationist until 1917 or so. But you'll begin to see a more limited intervention by the United States in this game. And then, of course, you've got the Italians. So the Italians initially had been a conglomeration of states. I think, what's his name? The biscuit guy. I forgot the British. There's a biscuit with that Italian nationalist name called. I forgot the name. I do apologise for all you Italians out there. But he eventually formed the United Italian States, and after the war with the French and the Italians versus the Austro-Hungarians, Austro-Hungary lost the sort of influence over Italy, and Italy became a pseudo-independent state. Still very young in its formation and its reunification, but aspiring outwards even to this date. Because of course wars are a great way of cementing national unity, and of course a great way of expanding one's territory. And this, of course, so we can see over here, there's plenty of ripe land to be taken, like the Ottoman Empire here, a bit of Tunisia there, and of course Egypt at this period hadn't really been growing and developing. And of course we have the sick man of Europe, the Ottoman Empire. So really throughout the 1800s, the Ottoman Empire had begun to struggle and had been propped up by the concert of Europe seen in the Crimean War. But you begin to see a gradual and more rapid decline as the Ottoman Empire. Again, because of multi-ethnic and multicultural tensions between the different tribes and groups within the Ottoman Empire. Again, because of its political structure, and of course its technological decline. Again, if you want to be very controversial, you can argue things about religion and so on, but for fundamental purposes, we don't go too much into the detail. The Ottoman Empire had began to stagnate, and thus throughout the Victorian period it had begun to devolve, and throughout the 1900s it would just get worse, and eventually it would lead to the Ottomans joining the war. Really, the Ottomans initially had no intention of joining the war, but because the British sort of gave the Ottomans an ultimatum, effectively become our puppet or lose territory and fight with us, or join the Germans and fight with them instead, the Ottomans made a choice and a decision to jump in with the German Empire, and eventually they would effectively be propped up by the Germans and extension by the Austrian Empire. And altogether, even though we do like to slag off the Ottoman Empire quite a bit as a sick man of Europe, for its very delicate state, it was very weak outlook at the start of the First World War, they did a pretty good job. I mean, they held out longer than the Austro-Hungarians, and they held out longer than to be expected, if I'm honest with you. They were able to hold a large amount of the peninsula, and even when you had the British expeditions over in the east and Lawrence of Arabia going around causing a nuisance, they still pretty much held up right to the end of the war. Of course, they would eventually have the last laugh in the Second World War, where they remained neutral under Ataturk. Now, really, if you think about it today, they're actually a regional power. One that's very often overlooked, but because of their strategic location and their very nationalist outlook, they were very capable of, at least today, to form a very healthy, stable nation for what was and what could have been an absolute cluster because of the collapse of the empire in itself. Of course, you have concepts like neo-Ottomanism in today's age and things like that. But really, Turkey is one of the undervalued players in modern geopolitics because it has one very large army, and because of its culture and its geographic situation, it can be quite a prominent regional and almost geostrategic power, and all of that was almost a product of the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and eventually its resultant reformation as Turkey. And of course, over here we will eventually see the rise of the different states, and we'll see the rise of Bulgaria, which eventually will get cucked by everyone else, sadly. Bulgarians get a bit of a hard deal, really. Bulgaria gets bullied quite badly in the Balkans, which is unfortunate. And then, of course, you end up with the Serbs and so on and so forth. But needless to say, we'll be playing as Italy and trying to stay on historic focus. Now, the reason why I'm playing Italy is because I don't know the historical focuses too much. I wanted to play Austro-Hungary, but I don't want to screw up the historical focuses and have World War I late. And I don't want to play France because it'll be a rather boring affair. So, let's begin. Let's go to performance mode. Hi, Tom. So here we are. We've got Italy. So what is our national penalties? We've got stability +5, also known as the Italian unification. That was the political and social movement that consolidated different states of the Italian peninsula into a single state of the Kingdom of Italy. The memory of this event, as well as the irredentism that followed, is a driving force in both Italian unity and politics. And of course, we have the scramble for Africa. Everyone loves a bit of Africa at this stage. I know you do. I know you love it, Tom. I know you love it. And of course, we have Vittorio Emanuele III. Italy's in a pretty good spot right now. It's not too bad. Selling England by the pound. Thank you very much. Of course, you may need a few citations. Now, because... Oh yeah, I'll show you the logistics. So this will be a bit of a nightmare later on. So Italy doesn't have a very difficult logistical system because of all its ports. But Vienna, if you see here, they've only got a port here. They've got a supply hub here and a supply hub in Salzburg. So once I take the initial historical positions, it's going to be a grind to get to Vienna. It may be a product of the mod, but it's going to simulate World War I rather well because I'll have to stop to put down more supply points. So I'm going to be joining, historically, I'm going to be joining the Allies, and I'm going to be trying to see if I can do a better job than Luigi, poor old Luigi, and see if I can break through the the Austrian lines without collapsing. But we're going to do this in 1915 as per historical precedent. So I'm going to put one guy in production efficiency so I can get more buildings per state. And then I'm going to hard research fighters. So why I'm going to hard research fighters and tactical bombers is because of the terrain and the fact that in the First World War and the mountainous terrain, it's going to be very difficult to break through, and therefore I want to use air superiority and bombing to break through these lines rather than using artillery pieces on the mountains and so on. So we're going to hard research early fighters, which is going to take us a couple of years, and tactical bombers. And then the next thing I want to do is research the radio, because that will increase my reinforce rate and my coordination. The big problem in World War I was, of course, a lack of coordination. Radios were still pretty early on. They didn't really come into fruition until later on in the war. And that's, of course, for the Germans. The Germans are actually very well ahead in terms of military thought during this period. Actually, rather underrated. The Germans were actually very... how do I put it? Very ahead of the time when it came to doctrine, when it came to the start of the First World War. They were very much a believer in firepower, rather than the French were much a believer in shock and the cult of the attack. Same with the British to an extent. Yeah, the Germans were very far ahead, actually. They believed in artillery pieces and they believed in mobile artillery and fire suppression. That's why they did so well early on. Yeah, exactly. Aeroplanes are essential. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. The aeroplanes will hopefully be able to circumvent the difficulties of the terrain. So first things first, we need to upgrade. And then, of course, we need to start educating our soldiers about the new outcome of the war. So let's start training them up. So we have a new focus tree of this mod, very good mod. I highly recommend it, especially when it's further updated. So you have the political tree. This is more apolitical. So if you want to start being commie or do you want to start being a capitalist system, you can go this way, but that's not historical, so we're going to ignore it. Then, of course, you have the political focus, allowing for the Italian expansion into Libya, but you can only do this in August 1911. You can do the industry area down here, and of course, you can do the secret deals and the claims. Or you can, of course, join the Germans instead. Now, we can actually circumvent all of this by just declaring war on the Austro-Hungarians in 1915 and not having to do any of this. And that means we can skip all of this focus tree. And then over here on the right, we have got the military doctrine, which will eventually begin to go down in 1914, because we'll be joining in 1915. We have the Form Corpo Aeronautico Militaire, which is the air doctrine. And over here we have, of course, our economic doctrines, which get unlocked as time goes on. So you can see we can get this in 1913, get this in 1915, and so on. So there's no real point going down here just yet. And of course we've got naval doctrine, but no one cares about navy in the First World War, unless of course you're the British, unless you're the Brits. So first thing first, diplomatic effort. Next, switch to 5-speed. But I very much love the First World War. I love the concepts that came from the First World War. I think it's very interesting. If they ever finish in Hearts of Iron 4, I'd love it if they did an expansion for World War 1. Albanian revolt. The Albanians refused to submit to the Turks. A new Albanian uprising began in Kosovo and northern mountains. Ottoman government declared martial law and sent in a military expedition. So we're already beginning to see the beginning collapse of the Ottoman Empire. South Africa Act. Okay, let's go to free speed. South Africa has joined Canada, Australia and New Zealand as a more autonomous dominion of the United Kingdom. An Act of Parliament unifying the Cape of Good Hope, Natal, Orange River Colony and Transvaal into the Union of South Africa, which was allotted the same quasi-independent state and set of privileges as the rest of the British Commonwealth. Rather interestingly, there's many part of the British imperial system was more based off the monarchy rather than sort of political systems, whereas the French one treated colonies like departments of France. The British treated a large portion of their colonies as dominions, but pledging loyalty to Her Majesty the Queen. Which meant that, of course, it was much more stable because you effectively went to the colonies and said, okay, do your own thing, but you're loyal to the Queen. And they say, okay, we're loyal to the Queen, we'll do our own thing. And this was very good. Very, very good. So, diplomatic effort. Okay, so next is Italian development. And we've got 150 PP. So the first thing I want to do is free trade for extra construction. We'll go on from there. So carpentry schools, yay. And we're going to hard research heavy industry. Why? Because we need the factory output. Factory output, good. So you can build more factories. Yay for radios. We can also research speed, but we're not going to bother. We're just going to keep on researching radio systems so we can be a very well-coordinated army. You see there's a conflict going on here. I'm not really sure how this plays out because I've never played as Albania in this game, but I'm assuming this is like its own sort of weird event. It's not like a proper war. The Kingdom of Montenegro is proclaimed. Prince Nicholas of Montenegro proclaimed the Kingdom of Montenegro in Cetinje on the 28th of August 1910, elevating the country from the rank of principality. Since 1860, the prince had ruled the country and had initiated several modernizing reforms. He is now a king. Long may he reign. Well, it's going to be about 3 years or so we can chill out for a bit. We can chill. A lot of it's just going to be the building phase, if I'm honest with you. Oh, Italian development. Aha! Italian highways. We do love a few highways. So we can't go further on from partial mobilization. So I recommend we get a military theorist to get our military experience back up, because we're going to have to learn the lessons of war before we fight them. We will trade with the French and go on from there. Split the army into two groups, one to attack the Germans, Austria second, put in Trento and use it to invade the Ottomans. See, I don't really want to touch the Ottomans too much, because the British will be doing a lot of that, and I'm going to need a lot of my forces to break through here and expand. Now, I can do naval invasion and so on, but remember, this isn't going to be the Ottomans. This is going to be like Serbia when it gets to 1914. So to do these naval invasions and sort of end up doing a, or what do you call it, Gallipoli with Italy is probably not the most intelligent thing to do, because Italy won't really have the resources to pull off. So Portugal becomes a republic. Mirroring their former colony Brazil, the Republicans of Portugal's coup de monarchy. A string of blunders by the monarchy, mostly concerning the colonies and technological development, provoked a very small band of rebels to come together, which quickly earned the support of nearly the entire military. Though the issues of monarchy face are likely to be easily solved anytime soon, at least the anger of the public is quenched for now. Oh, there you go. Now, I think I will avoid that now. Heavy industry, good. And then let's see if I can hard research this. Not really, no. Let's go and do metallurgy. And let's also do a spy department as well, because I'm going to need that for later. I'm going to need it for later. Communication system. So we've got a communication system. I reckon that we keep going down heavy industry, because I'm going to run out of build slots. So, new policy. Unfortunately, this mod, these guys won't give you military XP, so there's no point picking these guys yet. So I recommend instead we go with popular figurehead, and that will reduce my consumer goods. Revolution in Mexico. Now, a period of history I'm not too knowledgeable of is actually Mexican history. I don't really know what the Mexicans did during World War I, World War II. So on October 5th, 1910, Madero issued a letter from jail known as the Plan de San Luis Potosi, with its main slogan, Sufragio Efectivo Numerilación. That's really botched, I do apologise. Free suffrage and no re-election. It declared Diaz's presidency illegal and called for revolt. Italian highways, okay. So next is this fella. I suggest remake the Spanish join the Entente. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's take a look. What's wrong with the Spanish right now? Okay, so the Spanish have got the... Let's actually look at Spain a little bit, shall we? So Spain has got the Spanish tragedy, weekly stability -1%, military defeats, rebellion, civil strife, instability, economic depression, and spiteful polarized electorate have defined Spain in recent memory. Spanish society as a whole has almost become numb to disaster, and their malaise and pessimism can be seen constantly in everyday life. They've also got a neutral foreign policy, making it very difficult to get them on side. They've got old-fashioned industry, crooked conscription, former empire. Oh my god, why would you want this on your side? That's very German. That's very German of you. Why would you want this on your side? I think we'll wait out on that. Very German to have a really bad ally. I think we should just leave the Spanish alone to deal with their own problems. What is the Spanish focus tree anyway? Oh wow, this is such a good mod. Look at that, that's beautiful. Yes, that's a really good mod. You can just tell by the amount of stuff there. How he passes on raids, and so on. Can I do this? Yes. Wow. Wow. Wonderful. I love mods like this. Great war mod, wonderful. Okay. Next on the agenda is we want to go and scramble for Africa. So we're going to move off here because I know it's going to be August time when I can start beating up the Ottomans. So Italian expansion is next on the agenda. Sorry, Ottomans. Not today, though. Let's get a couple of boys together. Oh. Japan-Korea Annexation Treaty. The Korean Empire, a Japanese puppet state since the assassination of Queen Min in 1895, has thus signed a treaty with the Japanese government that resulted in full annexation. Though the Russian Empire and United States are complaining about this measure, no official actions have been taken against Japan yet. It seems Korea's long legacy will go out with nothing more than a whimper. A very interesting period of history as well, because the Japanese join the Entente, and they take a few German colonies in China. It's also an interesting period for China if you know Chinese history. Sadly, I do not. So I won't pretend I do. And I won't lecture you on what was going on in that time period. Captain of Industry. Let's take a look at a couple of the focuses here. This looks like a... Yeah, this looks like a general focus tree. This looks like a rather general focus tree. But perhaps it will change once they have their Warlord era. Great mod, highly recommend it. But the reason I avoided playing it till now is simply because of no step back. It took a while to update. It's still not fully updated yet, and so that's why you've got a lack of supply lines and things like that. At least that's what I think is why. So this is going to be a long haul. Expect a bit of a grind. The Battle of Desik. The Albanians have scored an upset victory over the Turkish forces today. After a surprise attack on a much numerically superior Ottoman force, the Albanians lured the pursuing Turks into the nearby town of Tuzi, where, joined by rebels from Montenegro, they overwhelmed the bottlenecked forces into a retreat. The Turkish authority in the Balkans has fallen further into question as a result. Yes, poor old Balkans, poor old Ottomans are about to have a bad time. So I can't go for Libya yet, so let's keep fortifying Sicily and so on. I want to really go for Libya when the Balkan War starts. Let's get my navy together as well. Lazy navy, lazy navy. The reason why I don't do videos on naval builds is because I don't have a clue about navies. All I know is spam subs or spam naval bombers. So if you actually want to build a functioning navy and you want to actually do Mediterranean wars and that, then I'm useless, you know. All I know is the meme strats, not the actual proper naval invasion navy strats. So I try and avoid playing naval nations or avoid doing navies when I'm playing naval nations like the USA, which has mixed results depending on how good the Japan player is. Machu Picchu discovered. Machu Picchu, the grand estate of the Incan king, sorry about this, Pachacuti, has been found. Last inhabited around 1550, it has rested nearly untouched by the world community until its rediscovery by American explorer Hiram Bingham. The Peruvian government is gleefully preparing an influx of easily taxed tourists. Wonderful. Invest in civilian, of course. It's all about the civs. Especially if you're playing as perfidious Italy. Rubs pasta. And then let's go with elusive gentleman. So we have another spy. I find this period of history so fascinating as well because of the different technologies they used to wage war. Like the Austro-Hungarians had air-propelled mortars, which was like air pressure mortars, and I think they even had air-pressured rifles as well, like air guns. So it meant that they had very silent mortar firing, but it wasn't really widespread because of how technically demanding it was to make. Mona Lisa stolen. Last night, a thief has stolen the famous Mona Lisa from the Louvre. This morning, Louis Barrault walked into the Salon Car portion of the museum, where the Mona Lisa has been on display for 5 years, only to find 4 iron pegs on the wall. Local guards claim the art was being photographed, which turned out to be untrue. Currently, the museum is closed for investigation. I think the guy just walked out the front door of it as well, which is rather funny. Which is rather amusing. But yeah, the Austro-Hungarians had quite a few novel weapons. I think Britain had tank. I think the Germans had the upper hand when it first came. No, actually, I think it was pretty even. Do I need to prepare for war? No, I need Libyan claims. It was pretty even, but then the Germans had the Fokker Scourge. So one of the big problems with air combat was early on, the machine gun wasn't synchronized to the propeller. So you could end up shooting off your own propeller. This meant pilots had to be very careful about when to fire. But then the Germans came up with synchronized machine guns that would fire through the gaps in the propeller. So I think it occurred in 1915. So in 1915, they went through a period of just dominating the British air for a while. And then eventually the British captured a downed plane and then copied the technology. It was all a bit of a race technologically for both sides during this time period. But yeah, the Germans had the Fokker Scourge, and then we had the Sopwith Camels, which eventually had a tendency of breaking down in the air, which was rather amusing. So the Xinhai, is it Xin? Or the Qinghai Revolution, is that right? I'm going to go with Xinhai. The Xinhai Revolution, or Xinhai Revolution, was a revolution that overthrew China's last imperial dynasty, the Qing, and established the Republic of China. The revolution was named Xinhai because it occurred in 1911, the year of the Xinhai stem branch in sexagenary cycle of the Chinese calendar. The revolution consisted of many revolts and uprisings. That's typical of Chinese history. The turning point was in Wuchang uprising in October 10th, 1911. This was a result of a mishandling of the railway protection movement. The revolution ended with the abdication of the last emperor Puyi on February 12, 1912. That marked the end of over 2,000 years of imperial China and the beginning of China's Republican era. And I don't think it turns out well for the Chinese. I mean, it's not turning well for the Republic. Oh god. Oh no, now it's turning out well. See if they've got their own focus tree. Have the Qing got their own focus tree? No, it's pretty... but that's understandable because there's so many different warring states. Let's take a look at the Republic of China. No, yeah, it makes sense because there's so many warring states. It'll probably take ages to make proper focuses. Although I'm going to assume that more events kick off that ends in the decline of the Qing Empire. Okay, let's pause. Libyan claims the Italian-Turkish War. The Italians have been denied a colony in Tunisia and thus must seek any territory available to her. The Turks are isolated and weak and seem to be the best possible target to liberate new Italian colonies from. We could even perhaps earn some more territory in the course of the war. Italia combattere, or something along those lines. So with this, we start with our own outcropping of troops. And we will begin sending troops down to assist. And have I researched this yet? No, okay. So we'll take these guys, form them up. Of course, we'll put big old Luigi Cadorna in charge. Where are you, Luigi? Oh, you're not here yet. Oh, there he is. There's our big fella. There's our Chad. Luigi, 12 times the charm Cadorna. And then we'll go down, prepare for war. And then these guys can join Luigi gang. And now we can have a little battle. What decisions do I get? nothing of value. Italian invasion of Libya. The ultimatum was presented to the Ottoman government. Well, through Austrian intermediation, the Ottomans replied with a proposal for transferring control of Libya without war, maintaining a formal Ottoman suzerainty. The Italians refused, and the war is now declared. Yeah, the Italians are sort of like that. So the aim of this war is basically to take Tripoli. If you take Tripoli, then I think you get a white peace and you end up winning. And I think I can go to war economy. Oh, I can't. Oh, shame. Let's go with industrial concern. No worries. Have a good one, Tom. And of course, it's the Ottomans, so don't expect too much of a hard fight. So that's why I haven't even built my units or anything like that, because I have no need to. Against the poor old Ottomans. I could probably force feed this. I just don't want to look silly in case they encircle me, you know. You know. Now, why am I not naval invading? Because it's quite difficult to do for some reason. Draft dodging. Pay rise. Agadir crisis. Provoked by the increasing power of France over the state, Moroccan citizens have begun a rebellion against the Sultan Abdelhamid as the French are preparing to lift the siege of the palace in Fez. The Germans have sent the SMS Panther to the port of Agadir. This basically ends up becoming, what do you call it, gunboat diplomacy in support of the rebels, claiming to be protecting German and mercantile interests in the region. Presuming in the event of rebel failure, Morocco will pass to direct control by France. If nothing is done in this situation, war could break out over Europe. Don't worry, it's historical focuses, so no war in Europe just yet. So, because I like to LARP to think the Ottoman command is not very good in this time period we're moving through. Now, normally we have a bit of a Balkan war here going on, so I'm hoping that the historical focuses haven't let me down, and the Balkan boys are going to square me away for World War One. But we shall see. Now, if I was an intelligent man... Oh, South Power reached. On December the 14th, 1911, Roald Amundsen and 4 others arrived at the pole 5 weeks ahead of the British party led by Robert Falcon Scott as part of the Terra Nova expedition. Amundsen and his team returned safely to their base and later learned that Scott and his 4 companions had died on the return journey. Yes, rather sad, actually. I think it's actually quite heartbreaking because I think they were pretty close to their resupply as well, or they got close to being saved, but alas, it was not meant to be, and it resulted in a loss of those men. Wow, us Italians aren't doing too well here, are we? Oh, that's pretty standard for most Italian decisions, if I'll be real with you, Chief. Ah, well, a breakthrough has been had. Okay. Quote-unquote breakthrough. I could pin. An intelligent man would pin. Lazy man would not. Lazy man will win through on this. God, I love the area. I love it. Prepare for war. And then we can go with this stuff. Oh, hello. And Ottomans offer terms. The Turks have been pushed to the point of surrender. They are offering us Libya and temporary occupation of the Dodecanese Islands. Oh, no doubt we can make that permanent. These are great terms for a short war. We can push for more. Perhaps this is peace enough. Well, it looks like we can't push for more because it's historical. So we take control of all this territory. An easy war for the Italians. Now we can move back over here. Run away, and then we can tell our navy to stop using a limited supply of fuel. But the Italians have a tendency of doing this in Africa. Italy won the Italo-Turkish War. Yesterday, Italy and Ottoman Empire signed a treaty in Uci near Lausanne. The Ottomans would withdraw all military personnel from the Treblinus and Benghazi villages. So now what we can do is we can get our spies and put down any rebellions in this area. And that way we don't have to invest in garrisons. Wonderful stuff. You can tell I've played this before. I've played ahead. I need another glass of wine. What wine is it? That's the question. It is. Oh, let me get the name of it. Oh no. It doesn't tell me. Oh, it's a product of Spain. Yeah, okay. Well, Spain doesn't do too bad wine. It's easy drinking wine. Well, actually, if you want to be a snob, you can say that. Really, Spain is not known for its wines, but it normally do wine. But they do sangria, so you know. Yeah, light, soft, easy drinking red wine with gentle strawberry and cherry flavors. Lovely stuff. I don't like strong alcohol, so I do like a glass of wine. It's a pity I didn't get an Italian wine, but hey ho. I think Italian wine's better with food. Grand Duke Wilhelm IV dies. Grand Duke William IV of Luxembourg, the second independent ruler of the country and its first Catholic monarch, has died today after 5 years of regency due to poor health and old age. Marie Adelaide has ascended to the throne and is expected to carry on his legacy. That's one nation that's done pretty well, bearing in mind its size. It's good old-fashioned Luxembourg. They've tried the test of time. It's quite depressing when you look at how big Germany was in World War One and what it became. And what it became today. It's like, oh, those memes. Can I turn up the music? I think I'm going to turn up the music so you get to hear the music they've added to the World War One mod. So now we can develop Cyrenica, and we'll just keep on developing up the newly conquered Italian states. I love it. World War One expansion for Hoi For When paradox, that's the question. The sinking of the Titanic. The RMS Titanic, thought to be unsinkable, has met its end in one of the largest maritime disasters in history, with over 1,500 dead. Already debates are cropping up from local coffee shops all the way up to the parliaments throughout Europe and North America, within North America, as to why the ship was not properly equipped with enough life rafts. Why the comm system was disabled, and why exactly the ship crashed into an iceberg to begin with. The tragedy has attracted international attention and spurred a massive overhaul in maritime safety standards. Yeah, it's quite a tragedy, actually. But it's funny how what films can do to... Oh, hello, Olympic Games. Yeah, no one cares about the Olympic Games. Like if you didn't have the Titanic film, I bet very few people would know about the Titanic. The Balkan League. In the surprising move, several Balkan countries, including rival states Serbia and Bulgaria, have come together to form the Balkan League, a military alliance stated to have been built up against Austria-Hungary. Though the alliance target Habsburg, it seems far more likely that the state that divides these four nations would be their target. I wonder where this is going. What focuses have the Serbs got? I would like to play Serbia, but again, I don't want to botch the World War. What's the focus to start World War? Have they got like assassinate good old hands? No. By the looks of it, no. I guess it must be a Habsburg focus, so it must be just occur automatically. Okay. Okie dokie. Oh, okay. It looks like Albania didn't win. Maybe they didn't win historically. Let's keep playing Civ Tycoon until later. I need my early motorized so I can actually be somewhat of a developed nation. Modify government. Let's go with planes. Medium aircraft. Lighter. Let's go medium aircraft. I don't know whether or not the Germans and the Austrians will make much of an air force. Emperor Meiji dies. Emperor Meiji, suffering from diabetes, nephritis, and gastroenteritis, died of uremia. Although the official announcement said he died at 0042 in the morning on July 30th, 1912, the actual death was at 1040 on July the 29th. After the emperor's death in 1912, the Japanese Diet passed a resolution to commemorate his role in the Meiji Restoration. An iris garden in an area of Tokyo where Emperor Meiji and the Empress had been known to visit was chosen as the building's location for the Shinto shrine, Meiji Jingu, sorry guys. The shrine does not contain the Emperor's grave, which is located at the Fushimi Momoyama, south of Kyoto. I like those little things. It's not enough. The issue I had with Kaiserreich was there's too many events. Whereas there's just enough throughout to not overwhelm you, he says after getting spammed to death of events. End of the Xinhai Revolution. The civil war in China has ended, the Qing dynasty has fallen, and a new republic has been proclaimed in its place. Though the new government has initially viewed with skepticism, the great powers have been guaranteed continued trade in China, and the leases on the various port cities and the coastline have been renewed. The transition to the new republic is therefore expected to be smooth. No war, the civs. Ah, here we go. The Serbs are at it. War in the Balkans. Taking advantage of the weakness of the Ottoman Empire following the Italo-Turkish War, the members of the Balkan League declared war against the Ottoman Empire. Will the Ottoman Empire survive this attack? The Balkan League declared war on the Ottomans. And there we have it. The Balkan boys are ready to play. Let's see how well they perform. I wonder if they've got any penalties, the Turks. No. I wonder if these guys have got any bonuses. A few, but not enough to really dominate the game. I wouldn't be shocked to see if the modders had adjusted the Ottoman AI to make him collapse here, because I think last time I played the Ottomans actually won this and it screwed up World War One. It sort of averted World War One, which made it a bit of a nightmare to LARP. But hey ho, it is what it is. Oh lord. Naval invasions, gotta love it. Gotta love the AI. Militarized Seneca. You know what? Let's do a bit of cheating so you can see what's going on. Here you are. It's all a bit of a cluster. I mean, the Ottomans are doing a pretty good at garrisoning most of the lines. It's just that there's a big hole here. Here we are, here's my early motorized. The only reason I want that. Rush that or rush... I don't really need construction, I'm going to run out of build slots anyway. It's so I can now produce motorized for my own supply lines. So this can now be changed to motorized, and I will no longer have to worry about my supply lines ever again. Oh god. Vulcan boys. What's the supply lines like? Oh god, that's probably why the okay, that's why the Ottomans do so badly here. The Ottomans do so badly here because they don't have any supplies in the Balkans. They only got supply from Constantinople and potentially Thessalonica, and so that's why on the left they're just going to completely collapse, and on the right, okay, that's a good way of subtly pushing the world to where it needs to be for World War One. I like that. That makes sense. And meanwhile, because these guys have got supply lines at Athens, they've got it at their capital cities, and Bulgaria, they can actually push rather decisively. That's a good way of... The railway mechanic is a good way of pushing the game in the right direction, like especially if you're a modder. Like, look at that. The Serbs just dominated. I don't think the Ottomans have an army anymore. Ouch. Ouch. Suffragette demonstrations. After being disenfranchised for years, women have begun to take the streets of Washington, D.C. and London demanding their rights to vote. The American president in particular, perhaps on a suggestion of his wife, has already signed their voting rights into law, and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom does not seem long behind. There you go. Militarized Tripoli, civilian industry. Once I think they take... Okay, whoa, 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 whoa. The Greek government has gone into exile. They got naval invaded, for fuck's sake. Fucking wonderful. Okay. The Greeks just... For fuck's sake. In 1912, Woodrow Wilson ran on the platform of New Freedom, which announced what Wilson perceived as both Theodore Roosevelt's more paternalistic and collectivist New Nationalism, as well as William Howard Taft's conservatism. A Bourbon Democrat, Wilson promised lower tariffs, free trade, and trust breaking in his speeches, though the progressive movement would encourage him to act a more moderate form of Roosevelt's proposals through the creation of the Federal Reserve and the support for the income tax. Or some of these policies might be costly in the short term. In the long term, they would both help consumers be protected from economic recessions and make goods less expensive, satisfying the populace for the moment. I'd be more satisfied if the Balkans don't lose this, because I don't want to spend this long just fighting for nothing. How did that happen? How do you end up doing this to yourself? Cult of the attack, army offense, of course. I think they'll still win. I think if they take Constantinople, then the board game resets. Montenegro has... Oh my god, stop getting naval invaded. Montenegrin government has gone to exile and their main forces have capitulated to the Ottoman Empire. I don't think this is how the Balkan War went. I'm not sure though. Maybe that's just me. I mean, they're winning. The Balkans are winning. It's just that it's a bit of a weird victory. The Greeks have capitulated again. Let's go with improved working conditions. So we've got our early fighters, and now we've got mass production. So something amazing is happening in a factory at Beckett Avenue. Henry Ford's ambitious desire to make an automobile affordable for any consumer has inspired the assembly line production scheme. Though the assembly line has been in use since as far back as Roman times, Henry Ford's clever use of moving conveyor belts, specialised machines, and more specifically skilled workers is close to making his dream a reality. And then we'll hard research the 1918 variant. The Ottomans have done surprisingly well. I like how they've also got their own uniforms and that. It's very impressive again for the modders. Ah, here we are. The Treaty of London. The Balkan League took advantage of the weakness of the Ottoman empires and forced them to concede some territories. It's a victory for the Balkan League, maybe the end of the Ottoman Empire. I assume they get this if the Ottomans don't crush the entire Balkan League until after a certain date. So now we have the Balkans. Eventually they'll have their Balkan Wars, and then of course World War I. I think Bulgaria gets a raw deal. They get ganged up on by pretty much all the other Balkan nations. In fact, Bulgaria gets a bit of a raw deal for most of the war, well, for most of history really. Sadly for poor old Bulgaria. Until Poi 4 comes along, then they become a god with mechanized. Let's go with the doctrine effort and start militarizing. And now the Ottomans have to retreat back into their territory of what's left of their army. I have a strong feeling they won't do particularly well in World War I. Especially if the Germans don't break through Serbia. They need to break through Serbia quick. Next step, we will go with army logistics. Now, if you're expecting mass encirclements and rapid breakthroughs, I'm going to have to let you down here. This is going to be a grind and a slog where I'm going to just have to form battle plans and push through. First flight across the Mediterranean. Today, the locals of Bizerte, Tunisia noticed a strange flying object which was revealed to be Roland Garros, a French professional pilot, in his Moraine Saunier monoplane. The journey marks the first crossing of the Mediterranean Sea by air, an astonishing landmark for young science of aviation. Local sailors were reportedly not impressed. Oh boy, what's happened? Oh, he's still recording. Well, according to my stream, you're still recording. Oh no, you're back up. This went down for a bit. Not sure why. Not sure why, boys. Sorry. Sorry. And also, I'm talking too loudly. I do apologise. Yeah, let's go down for a bit. Let's move around. Let's do some clicking. Hot, 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 hot. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. No, that's fine. I don't know why it's been a bit buggy, but hey, we'll work through it. So it's October. Let's see if I can build another sieve for December. Yep, and then we can start militarizing. So mills, 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 and then of course, let's get our planes out. Sadly, no air doctrine, but it's the nature of the beast, sadly. And we can finish off building up our mills, some artillery. Yeah, let's go for army regrouping for recovery rate. Now, potentially, we should be going down the European focus now. Start doing some dodgy dealings. I'm just going to do it just in case I am wrong, and in fact, you do need that focus, and I let everyone down. And we don't have a war. We don't start joining the war in 1915. So these guys, we're going to start increasing their numbers. Start giving these guys just basic artillery pieces. Again, good old-fashioned 20 whips. There's nothing wrong with a 20 whip. Nothing wrong with a good old-fashioned 20 whip. And then we are going to begin upgrading our supply lines. So before we do any of this, let's first upgrade you, and let's build up our airfields. And then we should be good to go. Okay, the Second Balkan War. Bulgaria was not happy with the results of the Balkan War. Despite being promised large amounts of territory, Serbia and Greece turned out to be completely unwilling to give up the Bulgarian claims in Macedonia. In response, Bulgaria began an invasion of Serbia with a surprise attack, and then themselves were surprised to find a Greco-Serbian alliance of brewed for this exact situation. Bulgaria is in a tough position. Could this ruin the stability of the region forever? And then the Romanians backstab, yeah. The bourgeoisie has been split between Romanian and Bulgarian rule since the Congress of Berlin. The entire territory contains a near equal part of Romanian and Bulgarian population, with a mix of Turks as well. With Bulgaria swamped in its own war, who would stop Romania from taking the rest of the region? Good old-fashioned Romania. Let's go, artillery specialist or artillery specialist. Well, there's two of them. Let's go for more. I can't do more army logistics. Let's go for artillery then. The Treaty of Bucharest. The treaty was concluded in the aftermath of the Second Balkan War and amended the previous Treaty of London, which ended the First Balkan War about 1 month later. The Bulgarians signed a separate border treaty, the Treaty of Constantinople, with the Ottomans, who have regained some territory west of the Enos-Media line during the Second War. So really, Bulgaria's got ganged up on by all three sides. I mean, they didn't lose too much, did they? You could deal with France. What do I need? I need artillery pieces. Another war. Stop it, you guys. So I need artillery pieces and I need this. So these three will have to be done first. I'm running out of build slots, so no more mills, no more sieves. Too many sieves. What's this war about? Let's see. Hey, as long as it doesn't interfere with World War One, I'm not too fussed. Let's start improving relations with the French. So I can send an attaché. And now we finally have our new weapon. The Caproniki C1. I've run out of build slots. Before we do that, World War One's not ready yet. We still got. It's still brewing. World War One's still in the bank. It's just the it's just the Balkans kicking off. September is where World War One kicks in. But we won't be joining until 1915 to give the Austro-Hungarians a chance. That looks like a tank symbol, but no one has tanks yet. I wonder if the Balkans. I wonder if the Bulgarians win this. I'd be mightily impressed if they did win it. Anti-Habsburg policy, of course. It looks like they are going to win it. Ah, yes, dual threats player in Elden Ring. I've converted him to the Elden Ring cause. God, I love Elden Ring. Ring, bro. Come on, Bulgaria, I believe in you. And I'm now running out of slots. Begin transferring to mills. But if you want to do this properly, we want to change one each side. So I need 15, 16, 17, 30. Good. I think they lost the Second Balkan War, but they've gone in for round 2. So Franz Ferdinand is dead. Franz Ferdinand, the esteemed Archduke of Austria-Est and Crown Prince of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, lies dead. His noble wife rests beside him. Franz Joseph has lost another heir, and to the damned vile sons of bastards are the Serbians. I'm reading this off, and I'm not... Okay. The Serbian government officially denies involvement with the assassin Gavrilo Princip, blaming the Black Hand, though few believe a lack of government involvement. We have sent compensation demands to the Serbians. If they decline, they will have hell to pay. They'll all pay. Okay. Go on, Bulgaria. I believe. Okay, the war started. Croatia's gone. Hungary's gone. Serbia refused Austrian demands. Serbia's refusal of the Austrian demands led to the declaration of war, which will no doubt be followed by countless others. Here begins the downward spiral into World War. Okay, boys, let's start preparing the armies then. Whoa, I don't want that. No more training. Let's begin preparing on the border. One, two, three, four, five, 6. And then these guys will just move into garrison duty over in Africa. Hey. Okay, and then we'll put these guys on the border. So who needs a promotion? That's right, Luigi. You're now in charge. Field Marshal Luigi. Supreme Commander Luigi. And this guy can just move in here and form its own separate unit. Put these guys on the border. Turn them up. And then what we will do is make sure these are all mechanized. And then we will turn off FOW again. Let's start going to export focus. So we no longer have to trade. Honor the Triple Alliance. Don't honor the Triple Alliance. No, thank you, sir. Luxembourg's join the Entente. And then let's send an attaché. Did the Bulgarians join? No. Let's start getting the Navy into order as well. So this will be put onto Strike Force. And then the rest will be put onto Patrol. There we are. Start shifting these guys up. How much oil is this going to take me? Too much oil. Italian claims in order to treat... Okay, let's do this then. And then turn this off because we're not at war yet. So let's turn this off. And wait for further instructions. Juarez assassination. Jean Jory of France was assassinated in the Parisian cafe Le Croissant, 146 Rue Montmartre, by aptly named Royal Villain, a 29-year-old French nationalist. Roy was scheduled to appear at one of the international conferences to deliver a protest against the seemingly impending war. With his death, the last major social obstacle to the French involvement in the coming fight has passed. So how are the French doing? Not too well. Time to start doing some doctrine. So interesting thing about this this game, or this mod, is that before you can go through the other doctrines, you first need to go through the Cult of the Offensive doctrine. This is the World War I doctrine, where you have to learn the lessons of war. So once you learn this, you can start going down ground battle plan and so on, but initially you've got to do basic improvements to your fort. So Org loss for moving +5 and so on and so forth, which eventually will hopefully decrease over time. France? 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 Oh, Romania? Romania? France? Romania? What's going on? Hello? Okay, looks like Bulgaria is a big boy. This is probably very unhistorical. This is very unhistorical, but hey, it is what it is. And the Austro-Hungarians are also beating back Serbians. The French are reforming around Reims. And the Belgians are still alive. Rather interesting, the Netherlands never actually joined the war, which is rather amusing. But I think what will stop the Germans is the lack of supply depots, which is a product of the mod. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of progress here. Let's start researching gas. Equally, not a lot of supply hubs here either. The mod may need some work to allow the AI to build supply hubs and things like that. Otherwise, I suspect the Germans are going to have a real struggle to advance. I mean, there's no supply hubs here either. I mean, there's a supply hub there. Karl I of Romania has died. The long rule Karl I of Romania helped the quick development of the Romanian state. During his reign, Karl I personally led Romanian troops during the Russo-Turkish War and assumed command of the Russo-Romanian army during the siege of Plevna. The country achieved an internationally recognized independence via the Treaty of Berlin in 1878. I think this mod may need a bit more work with the lack of supplies. Oh, welcome back, Aurelian Soil. Military coup, hey? Mexico. We're playing the Great War mod. I've just realised that there is not a lot of supply points in this mod right now. I think it's probably due to the latest patch. I think they're still updating it, so I don't think the Germans are going to do a lot of advancing. I don't think the French are going to be doing a lot of advancing either. I think it's going to be a very stalemate war. Which is probably rather reminiscent of World War I, depending on whether or not the AI can build supply hubs. But the Serbians are well and truly getting beat by the Austrians, which is not good for me, because I sort of need the Serbs to stay alive to keep the Austrian-Hungarian front. So I don't know when historically the Italians joined. I think it was around March time, 1915. But we'll go for January, February, March. We'll go for March. We'll just go for early March. Now, a great game you may want to play if you do like World War I Grand Strategy is a game by Slipperin Games. I think it's called Supreme Commander World War I. I think I've showed it off to you on stream back when I was a Twitch boy. A really good game. So right now, historically, Italy didn't join the war. Italy was a bit opportunistic. It didn't honour the tripartite pact, or what do you call it, the Treaty of the Three Emperors or Treaty of the Three Kings, whatever it was. And it waited to see which side was most likely to win. And then in 1915, it came to the decision to intervene on the side of the Entente and attacked Austria-Hungary. Unfortunately, this didn't really work well for Italy, and they in fact ended up stuck along the Isonzo, which is, I believe, over here somewhere. So they didn't even move forth very much. They just sort of stayed stuck here. And after like 12 suicidal charges, the Austro-Hungarians counterattacked, I think in 1917, and slaughtered the Italians. So there you go. So right now we're going to play it cool. We're going to wait until we're ready. Supply-wise, I still need artillery. I don't need that many guns, but I'm going to keep 3 factories on guns just in case. And it appears that not much movement has occurred. The one thing I will say about the mod right now, yeah, that's the thing. That's what I've noticed right now. There's like one supply hub So there's a few supply hubs at the front line, and then there's no supply hubs whatsoever. I mean, this works well on one hand because it means that it's like a World War One. Everything's slow, it's a grind, no one really moves forward. But it also doesn't work well on the Eastern Front because it means nothing moves forward in the Eastern Front as well, which is pretty bruh. So hopefully once they update the mod a bit more, that will change. But for now, I don't think we're going to see a lot of movement here until the Italians just die. Well, until the Russians just run out of troops or equipment. Stop it, Austria-Hungary. I'm about to declare war on you. Gas masks, of course. So, what goes on in 1914? So, 1914, you've got the retreat from Mons, German, the Zeppelin campaign. Yeah, that's the thing right now. It's like there's no push. So you've got the retreat from Mons, where the British Expeditionary Force just ends up mass retreating all the way over here. You have the initial attacks by the French, which end up disastrous, and then you have the defense of Paris and the great miracle of I think it's the Seine, where they all turn around and counterattack, and the Italian taxis turn up. Not the Italian taxis, the French taxis turn up and start ferrying troops over, and they push the Germans back. And then you end up in a stalemate around here. Meanwhile, in the east, you have the Russians who steamroll through into German territory, then get encircled and lose basically their entire force in the not Teutoburg, it's Tannenberg, and then it just ends up rapidly declining for the Russians throughout in 1915. None of this is occurring, however. And Serbia actually survives a lot longer than this. Serbia actually does very well. I think it's late 1915 when they get the good news, along with Albania. But again, where's the supply hubs? Where be the supply hubs? Yeah, let's start justifying war. Now, the United States doesn't actually join the Entente, and neither does the Republic of China. That is a problem with the mod. I don't think the Republic of China joins the French, and I don't think that happens. And the Americans don't join the French until 1917. That is a bit silly. Hello, welcome, welcome. I'm not going to try and pronounce your name, sadly. I don't want to butcher it, but yeah, this is a thing with the mod. Right now, I do apologise because I've played it too early and I haven't rolled it back. They're still updating it, so if you're thinking, wow, this is a really bad mod, don't. It just needs time to build up. It just needs time to grow, or to what do you call it? Patch up to the new standard. And it will be mixed for us as well, because we'll be attacking into bad supply equally. Can I join the Entente yet? No, I'm just going to have to declare war. What a shame. Let's go with the form the Corpo Militaire. And then let us go with this. So yeah, right now supply really bad, but this will be a double-edged sword, because once we start pushing further into Vienna, we'll have no supply and they'll have more supply. So, you know, it's swinging around. But the only thing I will say is it sort of ruins the Eastern Front and sort of ruins... Well, this is French warfare, that's not historical. So what happens early 1915? I believe you have the Second Battle of Ypres, where the Germans use their gas, use chlorine gas, and end up destroying a couple of French divisions, and the Canadians end up using urine and handkerchiefs to survive. And I believe you have more Russian offensives and so on. And the Germans just keep on pushing into Russia. So we are now ready for war. The Austrians have moved their troops up. We will now declare war. And then we will opt to join the Entente. And then we'll go to war economy. And we will send out our fleet to make sure we don't get... Whoa, I don't want to send that one out. We'll send this bad boy out. Okay. Next on the agenda, we will keep on converting to mills. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we will begin Operation Azonzo. Azonzo is a go. Push it to the limit. So far so good. How's my air doing? Not very well. Oh yeah, I'll take some stuff off you. Ain't that the bots thing? Yeah. Yes, it sort of is. Come on, World War One. Alonso, please. I probably should put some of my air. My whole 11 cats over there. Well, Luigi, your amazing plan to mass assault the defended positions of the Austro-Hungarians has not done very well. How many troops have I lost in such an amazing... Oh, not that bad. That's not bad. I mean, you know, I only stopped the attack after 100,000 Italians have died. See, we're sort of making progress. It's only 5k, it's fine, we're doing fine. It's all according to the Italian military doctrine, okay? Naysayers will be shot. Also appear to be running out of oil. Things are slowly getting worse. So things are slowly deteriorating. I personally blame the Serbs. And if you think about it, no, we're LARPing, okay? We're LARPing. I didn't want to break through anyway. Oh god, I've got no cannons. And I need to go to limited exports. There we are. I can't do that anymore. Oh, there we are. I've got plenty. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, in Western country, people go militia. Depends on the country. Different countries have conscription, but some countries don't. So in the UK, for example, we don't have the draft. You have to volunteer to join the army, and you don't have to do voluntary mandatory service. I don't know what the French have, but I do realise a lot of nations like Finland and obviously Ukraine and that obviously have some form of mandatory draft for obvious reasons. I don't think the French have it either. So the first Battle of the Isonzo, alright, the challenge, can I break through before 12 Battles of the Isonzo? So the first Battle of the Isonzo was an overwhelming failure. I actually did not kill very many Austro-Hungarians. I killed very little at all. But that's fine. Snorts copium. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's fine. If anything, we're just building up. Okay, it's building up. I'm going to go to 5 speed because it's World War One. Let's go infrastructure effort. Suddenly the Germans have supply. And the Russians are doing very well. Oh no, they're not doing very well. Mills. God, I wish I had more mills. There we are. So, the first Isonzo has not gone very well. Okay. But the Ottoman Empire's collapsed, so, you know, swings and roundabouts, really, boys. Swings and roundabouts. And the Germans have tried to send some forces to keep it going, but I think it's over. I'm going to assume Gallipoli works, so I'll live with that. In my country, Vietnam, every boy and girl start militia training at 16, hold a 5-kilogram wood and run around with a teacher who calls us comrade in sunlight and able to melt plastic. It's making me so exhausted. Roger. Roger. That was bad, man. I mean, we've got like volunteer, like kid organisations like army cadets and things like that, but it's all voluntary. None of that is mandatory stuff. We don't really teach military history for that to kids. You've got to sort of opt into that sort of thing. All right, British Balkan Gallipoli is not doing too well. So, am I ready for another attempt? Let's take a look. I'll be ready in 176 days. I'm not going to wait 176 days. I'm going to go with August. August time we'll prepare for Gallipoli, the second Battle of Isonzo. Let's get some Alpini units. I really want to push this way. Come on, Luigi. What's your plan, Luigi? What's your plan? So, I know the first Battle of Isonzo didn't do very well. So my idea is to trick the enemy into thinking that we won't do the same thing again. And so we will just attack incessantly into the same place we attacked before, but this time we'll catch them off guard. Because they will assume we'll be attacking somewhere else. Bloody hell. Wow. Goodbye, Ottomans. They should drag off the Austro-Hungarians as well. But I can't see what I can do because the Bulgarians didn't intervene in the war, so, you know, we're going to be alright. We're going to be okay. Okay. 28. Let's do an August. Let's do an August. Let's start upgrading artillery pieces. That's probably why we're doing so badly. Is we've got a really modern air force, just garbage equipment. That is a lot of Austro-Hungarian troops. July. Let's do it now. While the iron is hot, let's produce our final air corps of 37 tactical bombers. Put them down over here. And then commence our attack. Alonso Mark II. Well, I got no supply. Well, it's mountains, that's why. Alright. I need to take direct control. Luigi's taking direct control. Let's go with mobile defense for soft attack. I just need to let the cast start doing the damage. Or come on, you're telling me that my cast isn't doing anything? Oh, that's why. Okay, that's why. Ugh. Alright, reshift all cast to the east. Got all tactical bombers. And then give the command. And I'm going to tell my supply hub not to take supply from my allies, because my allies are going to kill my supply. Good. Good. Jesus, the amount of guns I'm losing over this is mad. Second Battle of Yazonzo. Disaster. And why is it? I think it's to do with my artillery. I need to improve the artillery. Let's crack out some more early fighters. That's not enough cast damage right now. Not enough cast damage. So what I need to do is potentially start damaging their supply lines. Let's redirect my forces, start damaging. Let's start doing strategic bombing. There's not enough planes yet. We need more planes. Oh, cool. The Germans have broke through slightly. Slightly, not a lot though. And the Balkans have joined the war. Oh, Bulgarians have joined the war. Wow. We're rather embarrassing ourselves right now, I'll be honest with you. Well, the rest of the allies of your Entente start breaking through the Balkans. I'm sort of stuck on Yazonzo. When we get the next artillery supply, we will form another offensive. I think 1915 was also Gallipoli, so there you go, but don't need to really worry about Gallipoli at the moment. Serbia's gone. Rather historically, yeah, not November 1915, there you go. Well, the Serbians has come back, so here. Okay, how many days? 59 days. For the third Battle of Yazonzo. Let's get the air back up. 133 Caprecchi fighters. No German air, which I think is a product of the mod, so I have to bear that in mind. 37 days and we're ready to go. Oh, battle over Verdun. German breakthrough, German breakthrough. Where are they breaking through on? Is any supply hub here? No. Not much of a breakthrough. Oh, a supply hub here at Mulhouse. And by breakthrough, I mean slight breakthrough. They're gonna grind to a halt without supply, so you know, it swings and roundabouts really. In 13 days, and then we'll begin the offensive to take pressure off the French. I don't know where the French have put their forces. Sadly, they never took Verdun, which is a pity. I had hoped they would have taken Verdun. Just a lot, you know, the Battle of Verdun and all that. Okay, well now we're ready. Let's begin the next offensive. Hopefully this time we'll be able to break through a slightly more weakened Austro-Hungary, and by the looks of things, things are looking up a little bit. More Cass. Now, looks like we're just getting dominated by German military thinking. Like every tactic we do just gets destroyed. We may be able to take one Alpine fort. That will be our glorious achievement in this battle. Why is my command so bad? I'm gonna have to do some changing to the command staff here. Just not performing as I expected. Now my Cass is starting to do some damage here. 1916, now we're starting to do some damage with the Cass. Germans are slowly edging towards Warsaw. I, on the other hand, I'm still stuck on the Azonzo. Fighting over one bit of territory. I'll take that land lease. It's my commanders. I blame my commanders for this failure. German high commanders are superior to me completely. Look, every single tactic has been countered. 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 Jesus. Trying to see if we can make replacements. Third battle of Azonzo, fail. Once again. Next stop, fourth battle of Azonzo, and I'm running out of support equipment as well to boot. Wonderful. Wonderful. Wonderbar. Shift all CAS assets to the north. We're going to try and break through the north. They're starting to get... Oh god. They're starting to produce an air force. The Germans are starting to produce an air force. No. Pretty sure they're actually building supply hubs now as well. How many days? 6 days. 63 days. How are you winning with 4 troops to my, like, 60? Bruh. Luigi! Explain that to me, Luigi. Why do I own this? Why have I been given this to control? I'm a bit embarrassed, I'll be honest with you. I can't believe the Americans, the French are breaking through where I could not. But then again, the French have lost a big portion of central France, so I'm not too upset. Okay, how many days? You know what? Let's do another offensive. This time we're going to micro our offensives. I'm going to say I did this, but I didn't. The fence are in fact breaking through for me, which is embarrassing. There we are, now the cast damage is starting to have some impact. Not enough to win us this, but hey ho. Yeah, I'm not doing that. That's madness. Can I build another airfield over here? No, I can't. Fourth battle is Onzo. Are we going to achieve at least a limited victory? Come on, give me something. Give me something, Luigi. Luigi. Yeah, there we are. Now we're cooking with fat. Let's keep on cycling the troops through in this meat grinder. And victory will be ours. Surely we're inflicting more casualties than they are on us. There we are. That's all we needed. How much did this cost us in terms of human life? No idea. Was it worth it? Probably not. Do I regret this? Slightly. Look at the amount of cast damage here. That's a real slog over this one territory. Now this is the World War One experience. You tuned in thinking it'd be something entertaining, while you're wrong. Where's the revolts? You can try and put down a rebellion there. Yeah, put it down there. Armament effort, yes, thank you very much. We're going to upgrade this to give it bombing. No, we're not. We're just going to go for the Caproni CA3. And we are going to produce some more of these. Hans chose as the first dies. How is this working for us? It hasn't worked in the slightest. Okay. New plan. So I'm not going to count that as a battle of you. Okay, that's the 5th battle of your Zonzo. That's the 5th battle of your Zonzo. You got to recalibrate. We got to recalibrate our tactics. But still, we're learning that frontal assaults aren't working. Now we've learned that counter assaults, countering frontal assaults with more frontal assaults is the answer. Wonderful, wonderful. Meanwhile, the Belgians and the French don't look so good. The Germans are growing, well, pushing slowly but surely. And I am stuck. Should I make more? No, there's no point making more divisions. Just got to wear them down. Fuck it, mass assault. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mass assault. Can't reinforce if we're pinned everywhere, can you? Sort of working. Not working. Not working. Let's time to switch back to aviation focus. How many Italians have died? 400,000 Italians. Well, that's not going too well now, is it? How many Austrians have died? Italy killed 200, so a 2-to-1. Okay, so they've killed twice as many. And I've not killed many Germans. Oh, we broke through! We broke through one tile! Tactical victory. Tactical victory, boys. Strategic victory. Counter-attack. Counter-attack this way. So it took us 2 years to take one tile. Wonderful. Wonderful news. Might be time to half air production. I've got air superiority, but for how long? Actually, no, that's not a good idea. Make sure my air is in fact doing air missions. Try again. He's not very good at war, is he? Italian. Oh, never breakthrough, please, please, please. Yes, yes, yes. Well, there's a 6 pound years on, so I've sort of lost count. So I'm going to count that as a breakthrough for the Italians. Making sure they don't reinforce the lines. Lovely, lovely stuff. So what happens in 1917? I think the Russians capitulate, but they don't capitulate in this game because I don't think Warsaw gets taken. Well, Warsaw has been taken, and then I think you need to take a few points before the Russians capitulate. You have the third Battle of Ypres, which is the Passchendaele, which occurs around over here somewhere. And you have the continued Battle of Verdun. This is also where you have Caporetto, I believe, where the Austrians counterattack and smash the Italians, which they're attempting to do now. I will take your M1 Grands and your Arashakas, because I believe I probably ran out of guns, which I have. And there we are. We have secured, in the space of 3 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles. Exceptional work, if I don't say so myself. Now we'll switch our Air Force over here. Superiority or agility? Let's go with agility. And then we will do bomber focus. Put down the last of our air. And then begin the next part of the operation. I should probably get some cavalry if I'm honest, but hey ho. Oh yeah, and the Americans joined the war as well. Let's go for Graz, shall we? Let's just rush to Vienna. YOLO. YOLO! Let's send some assault columns to Vienna. This isn't going to work well in the long term, but there you go. And we ran out of supply. Let's retreat back over here then. Take a look at our supply lines. Turn this off for friendlies. Make sure this is all double motorized. Okay, we need to put down a supply point then. It's going to take a very long time to come into fruition. Problems. Any counterattack by the French? Not really, no. So I need to reduce my trade somewhat, and I think the best way of doing that is reducing military production on some assets. Good, 15 factories. Next thing we need to do is honestly start researching logistics companies because we're going to need them. And then I'm going to go and get my infantry and tell them to have a logistics company. And then run out of equipment, obviously. Where are the people kicking off? Nowhere that important, okay. What's our units like now? Not very good. Not very impressive in the slightest. But we've got to the end of the World War I doctrine for the flying course. Now we can start doing battlefield support, and that should hopefully save us. Let's do an extra reset slot. I think we should just go for it personally. Go for it. They've got low supply, I've got low supply, but I've got CAS and they don't, so you know, those swings and roundabouts. There we go, that's a much more impressive Italian counterattack. Well, Tom, there's been not much progress since the last war, well, since 1915. We have made some progress in breaking through, but our lack of supply lines has now meant that we've sort of stagnated on the front. Equally, I'm low on guns and low on support equipment, so I'm going to have to start cutting back on the artillery production a little bit. Whoa, I need more bombers. I got to keep the bomber production high. I don't really need more trains. That works. That works. It's been a slow war, but now it's going to get even slower because now I've got to build up supply hubs before I push for Vienna. And the Germans have made significant breakthroughs. For some reason, the Germans have an awful lot of supply. But on the Eastern Front, not much breakthrough here. But they're sort of on the outskirts of Warsaw, which is pretty meh. So the next operation, we will attempt to break through to Vienna. Hopefully take Graz at the very least. Interesting. Some sort of Balkan D-Day landing by the Japanese. There you go, you know it's World War I and the Japanese are invading Varna. Next step in the master plan, we'll put down an airfield. So let's put an airfield down here. And let's get some land lease from the good old-fashioned Americans. The Americans are wonderful with their land lease. That should cure our problems, allowing us for another offensive to take place. Radios, yeah, 1916 radios, obviously. Doctrine effort. And next up is... we need to go for manpower conscription. So in the war, we have lost 558k men. And Austria-Hungary has done the most damage in the German Empire in the second. We have not done any noticeable damage to the German Empire, which is embarrassing. In the meantime, we've only done 316k damage to the Austro-Hungarians. It's a pretty costly war for the Italians. We have not performed at our best. I will be honest about that. But look, it's the learning curve, okay? We need to learn the lessons of the Great War. Not a lot of progress in the Eastern Front. Ludendorff is not performing up to snuff. So September 1917 was rather undecisive for both sides. I think the Germans had done a peace deal on the Eastern Front, and now we're moving troops down to the west in preparation for 1918, which I think was Operation Michael, which would be the last hurrah. In this case, I don't think 1918 will be when the war ends, sadly, but hey. So we're going to wait until we get our supply hub up to snuff, and then once our supply hub is ready, we'll begin our next offensive. And this will hopefully allow us to push slightly towards Vienna. He says, holding back tears. So this unit belongs to this army, and I've given troops to this army, yes? Okay. I need to give more air assets to those troops. I need to overwhelm the enemy with copious amounts of air. Okay, looks good. October 1917, shall we begin operations? I believe so, with another mass offensive. Which no one... Is there mutiny? Mutiny in the ranks? Why did I do that? Stop that mass offensive. Stop it, stop it, stop it. I need to wait until supply hub's been built. Silly me. Bruh. 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 Okay, supply hub, almost done. I don't need this anymore. How is my railway line for this supply hub? Is it pretty good? Yeah, it's not bad. Takes a while to build these bad boys up. And if this doesn't work with the port, I will have to connect a rail line over here. This will be a bit of a nuisance, but hey ho. 17th of November 1917. Watch it go blue! Go blue! Go blue! Oh, excuse me. There you are. Blue? You go blue? You go blue? You go blue, you go blue. And then I tell no allies, and then it goes really blue for me. Let's start building more supply hubs along the line. Okay, November 1917, the Vienna offensive by Luigi Cadorna. Once I take a look of the rest of the Germans have done surprisingly well on the west, not so well on the east, but hey ho. Attack! And of course, there won't be a proper offensive without a force attack. Flamethrowers will definitely help. Doctrinally, we're rather behind as well, which is not very reassuring. I'm just going to have to keep mass attacking until I get my doctrine up. You see, Mario, if you attack everywhere, they can't reinforce the lines. Although you will lose millions of men doing so, you will eventually achieve a breakthrough. That is World War I Logic 101. Look at that. Whoa, 2 tiles and 3 in a year. Military thinkers contain your orgasms. Is it going to be 3 tiles? Not if I get pinned, it's not. Yes, it is. The most narrowest of pushes. Come on, get through before you run out of supply. Do it. Start land grabbing. Oh no, I've been cucked. Go for Salzburg, go over here. Where's the next supply point? That's the supply point, Salzburg. Salzburg needs to be taken to supply the army. Alright, hold the attack. Did I get more factories from this? I did. Now I can start building more CAS. How many? There's not enough factories to pay for this, but we'll give it a go anyway. Yeah, not enough factories. We'll take one down from the wood. One less wood. And now we need to build another supply hub. And then we need to feed that supply hub over here. Unless I can take Salzburg, which I don't think I can. Force attack. Anything? Anything at all? Not really, no. Not really. Now I'm going to start running out of supplies rapidly. Not these guys aren't going to get supplies until I've built this. How long is it going to take me to build? Why are you still... Veneto, no. No. Stop. Stop. There we are, that's what I want you to do. So that's going to take until the 17th of August. So I've got to wait till August time before I can resume the next offensive. Wonderful. I've got to survive until then. So what happens in March 1918? You begin to see Operation Michael, which is the German offensive, well, last real German offensive of the war. So historically, they'd knocked out the Russians, they'd moved all their forces over. They knew that they were starving, they knew that the Americans were coming, and so made a last-ditch effort to mass assault France. And they did rather well, got to the Seine, and then they ran out of steam, and they got pushed back. And then they just kept on being pushed back until the end of the war, or armistice. In what was called the last 100 days. Probably the last mobile part of the war. Why am I running out of equipment? 11. What I should be doing is going to my construction and going resources. How's yeah? Can yeah get everywhere it needs to go? No, we need another air. Actually, we don't. We've got an airfield here. Another batch of planes. Let's issue these guys out to more boys. I'm just gonna hold here while the Germans counterattack. I suppose it's a good way to teach the supply system if you play this mod, because you can't just faff about. Can't go closed economy. Let's trade out some of this aluminium. I don't need this anymore, so we're good. Okay, let's look at supply. I still need at least 15 factories, so this needs to go. And this needs to go. And this needs to go. Heavy support or light support, doesn't really matter because I don't have any tanks, so you know, is what it is. Is what it is. Let's go for that Tommy gun, and let's go for that radio. Nah, the radio's going to take too long. Let's go for mustard gas. There we are, 15 factories. It's going to take me to the 30th of August. And then we can begin the next attempt at the offensive. So the Vienna offensive, we achieved a World War I standard of breakthrough, but we didn't get any further. And the French have counterattacked, which is good, 1918. And the Russians appear to be counterattacking as well. But still, 1 million men lost. I mean, we're getting closer to doing equal damage to the Germans. Doctrine, please. Air doctrine. Yeah, that's nice. Plus 20% ground support. That's lovely stuff. That should really help. War bonds. There we are, lovely stuff. Still, I don't think we'll get to Vienna by this year. I think we'll have to gradually... We'll probably be able to take Graz this year. We'll be able to take Graz because our supply line's pretty close. But... because there's no supply point in Graz, it's pretty pointless anyway, so I reckon I reckon 1919 is when we knock the Austro-Hungarians out. Oh, you also had the mutinies in France in 1917, as another point to note. And then Marshal Pétain takes over and morale improves because he cycles his troops. Before really Pétain at Verdun. Well, effectively what Pétain's in 1917 is what he did at Verdun in 1915 or 1916. Whereas before the French didn't do troop rotations, he was stuck on that front line for the entirety of the war until you went to a mass assault and got butchered. Other nations did troop rotations and rotated their troops back and forth throughout the lines, whereas the French did not. And that changed under Pétain, and you began to see rotations and the use of trucks for supply and things like that, which rapidly improved morale to a significant extent. Really, Pétain is one of the more tragic figures of history. He was deemed a hero of Verdun and saved sort of the French Republic in the First World War. And then after the Germans took France in the Second World War, he was effectively told by the French government that fled to do what the Germans said. And so he ended up becoming the sort of pseudo puppet leader of Vichy France. Of course, towards the end of the war, the Allies came and then they treated him as a war criminal, and he was sent off to prison in some island fortress where he died, and they refused to bring him back to be buried in France, which is very tragic. It's very very sad, because really much makes you because the French government at the time just abandoned France after the capitulation, and he was just told, you know, here's your orders, look after or do as the Germans said, and he just did as he was told. It's a bit of a anti-hero, a bit tragic, because it's you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. But yeah, Marshal Pétain is a very sad figure of history, which is unfortunate, because he was remarkably good in the First World War. He really turned it around for the French. Unlike Foch, who was just a bit of a... Okay, phosgene gas, our favourite gas. And then we will end up going down 1919 early support weapons. So it is 5th of August. We will get no supply because we just ran out of all our assets for seemingly no apparent reason. And now we'll suddenly get more back, which confuses me a great deal. But 1st of September will be the 1918 offensive, not to take Vienna, I suspect, but to take our next asset. So let us upgrade this rail line. Upgrade this rail line in preparation for the next offensive. Air effort, why not? Why not? I'm sort of running out of things to pick, so... Oh wow! The Russians have really counterattacked. They're at Königsberg. And then our supplies... What is this bug? It makes no sense. It's like it jumps from here to here to here to here. But hey, at least we get our supply hub back. Turn this off, turn this on. Switch this to air doctrine. Engineer companies up. How's our supply? Supply is very good now. If we take Salzburg as our next target, over here, we can set up a supply line that will hopefully allow us to advance. And we're running out of trucks as well, which is a problem. Come on now. What to do, what to do. I'm tempted to connect this rail line to here as well to see if that fixes things. Ready? Why is the supply still so bad? I don't understand. Okay, attack. Force attack. Force attack. Force attack. Mass offensives all along the line once again. Let's get the air up. Any new air assets will also rise to the occasion. A 1,000 tactical bombers. Progress. Some progress. Not too much progress, but some. I really want Salzburg, because then I won't have to wait again for another advance. Actually, let's research a new batch of fighters. It's now 1919, so let's research the Caponis again. Breakthrough, breakthrough. Yes, breakthrough. Quickly before we run out of supply. Next rail line from here over to here. We're going to start hemorrhaging equipment rather badly soon. How are my generals doing now anyway? Have they got good attack? No, they're all really good at defense. That's great news. We've managed to push the outskirts of Graz. But, I don't think... we should be able to take it. We've got the supplies. We can take it. It's just going to be awfully time consuming. It's like we've just got to keep on attacking over and over and over until our supplies run out. Surely the Austro-Hungarians are slowly running out of men as well. Let's start sending my spies out to check. Apparently they've still got, what, 3 million men as available manpower. Wow. Okay. Okay, game. Halt offensives. We're going to have to plan this out a bit more intelligently. Outside the outskirts of Graz, but not enough to achieve victory. I can attack this and push them off this point. That should be achievable. With the amount of cast I should be throwing down on these guys. Supplies are back up, but I need to relocate the cast to these guys now. Because they're now where I want them to push. So, if I order these guys to attack here, you think we're going to pull this off? No, in fact, they're going to be counter-attacking us. You should have gone. I don't understand that. Air. Where's my airfield? Add more air assets. That's a fair distribution. More ground support. I'll take that. I could build another supply line over here. Let's build another supply depot over here. Supply state is 4%. Bruh. Yeah. 17th of August 1919, eh? I feel like some supply hubs were made by the AI. Yeah, the one by Millhouse. I feel like you do build them, it just takes them like years. I think the next offensive will be my penultimate. It won't be my last offensive, but I'm just going to throw everything but the kitchen sink onto it. So once I've built this, we're just going to throw everything at it. I don't understand why this happens, but okay. Jesus. Okay. How many days? 5th of August. Another August offensive. What's your supply weight? So the supply weight here isn't the problem for us. It's just the supply weight here. A Russian breakthrough at Bucharest. It would be good if Bulgaria did capitulate. This would really help us extend the lines. And 1919 is nothing happens. This is now alt history mode. Yeah, well, I'm quite happy with what the Italians did achieve eventually by 1917, 1918. They did actually hold their own early on. I do like how it's simulated to an extent that Italians do rather badly at the start, and then you've got to learn the lessons of the war. You've got to build up and then eventually learn, why did X, Y, and Z happen. Like, you've actually got to, start building up supply lines. You've got to research, otherwise you're just not going to progress. I need to cut down on this and this. This really frustrates me. How this goes before this. That's a really frustrating bug. Because it means that my stuff gets pushed to the right. The French are really struggling on equipment. The Germans are now struggling on equipment. Everyone's pretty badly struggling. Only 8 factories on planes, which is rather unique. We can chill for a bit. They're not going to go anywhere for a while. And then we're just going to throw everything. I think we're probably going to end in 1921. In case we don't make it. I think we will make it. I think the Germans have now lost a large proportion of their equipment. And we should be in a position where we're just slowly just gaining more and more munitions. Equally, the Austrians are now pretty kaput. It is just a slogging match. That's a gradual slogging match. Very World War I-y, So on the one hand, the lack of supply hubs is good because it's the lack of supply hubs on both sides. So it means that both sides are slogging. And if the AI builds supply hubs, then that's also good because it means that over time you get less of the slog. But if they don't build the supply hubs, it just becomes a bit of a player advantage because you just build supply hubs and just dominate. Until you start pushing in, then you've just got to slow down. It becomes a bit tedious. Yeah. That's not needed. Go with this. And you can go over here. Go with an anti-German policy, why not? $3,000 days, damn son. Sisson. There we are. So, are we there yet? And where are we actually building this anyway? Okay, we're building it on a rail line, so it shouldn't be too problematic either. Make sure all our military has got offensive capabilities, so we've got attrition. Yeah, we're good. Make sure this is set to army offensive. It is. Good. And the 22nd of August when we begin the next offensive. Hopefully take Graz and break the Camel's back. Next batch of air needs to start going out. There you can go to join that one. Germany's not looking so hot anymore, which is nice. Okay, ready. Alright, here's our supply lines, ready set up. Sort of, let's turn this off. Let's turn this on. And begin the offensive. Force attack all along the line. And we're not going to stop until we just run out of equipment. Is this finally going to fall? Yes, it is. Finally. We've taken some alpine regions. Yeah, now we're getting some fast numbers. Push to Vienna. Push to Vienna. Shorten the line, shorten the line. Line. Push to Vienna. I don't think they'll collapse if I take Vienna, but it'll be a step in the right direction. Oh, they put 8 troops on Vienna. Fuck you. So now we're going to go through Grand Battle Plan because it's the most World War I-y. And then we're going to keep on going to go down our close air support doctrine. If I can get Salzburg, I don't have to keep building supply lines, which would be nice. Make a nice change. Come on. There we are, taking Graz. Hello, more you know. Welcome, hopefully, to the end of the stream. Well, by 2021, if we don't break through, we'll end the stream. But I'm just trying to hopefully knock out Austria, and that should herald the end of the war. We've made the most progress we've made in the past, like, 5 years just doing this, but it's just taking a very long time to achieve victory. Victory! I think we've broken the Camel's back now here. They're right outside Vienna. All we got to do is take Vienna. Well, and then this should destroy the supply lines for the Austro-Hungarians, and it all should all fall apart. This is the Great War mod, not the Great War Redux mod. I haven't played the Great War Redux mod yet, but I've realised this has been updated enough to be workable on a no step back game. Right now there is some problems with the Great War mod. For example, there's no supply hubs, pretty much. There's too little supply hubs, so it means that the war really grinds to a halt. However, it's also quite realistic and slows the game down quite a bit, so you've got to bear that in mind. But you won't see the historic breakthroughs of the Germans and so on in the Eastern Front, which is a bit depressing. I think this is because they're still patching for the Great War mod, but over time, hopefully they'll patch it to put enough supply hubs down. Because right now, the Eastern Front, you don't see the Russians get beaten up normally. So close to Vienna. So close it so far. I think we're good though. As long as I just keep attacking the castle, hopefully where the Austro-Hungarians down. In the Redux version, I'm pretty sure the supply hubs are fine, so it's much easier to push to the east. I will give the Redux version a go, I think. Once I finish this, I'll do the Redux mod. Not today though, God no, but probably I'll give it a go maybe tomorrow or later on in the week, if it does work, as you say, and give that a go. Because although this is really good fun, there's a lot of detail that still needs to be patched and updated, which is unfortunate. I quite like the lack of supply because it slows the game down considerably, but on the other hand, it ends up becoming a bit too unbearable, if you know what I mean. I mean, you can only grind for so long before you're like, how much of this is imposed by the lack of supply, which is my own fault. The mod does recommend going back, what do you call it, reversing your game. So there's Salzburg. Let me get that supply line up. But hey ho. And then I think I'll play as probably the Russians. Why not play the Russians, I reckon? I'll play the Russians in the Redux mod. And if I do badly, then it'll just laugh, you know? A good laugh. Next on the agenda, I don't really need to do this anymore. I just want to take Vienna. So you realise I'm not doing a lot of micromanaging, and the simple reason why I'm not doing micromanaging is because there's no need to in this mod. There's not a lot of manoeuvring, it's just a bit of a grind. I suppose if I wanted to protect my equipment and that, but then of course you'd be spending so much time microing and attacking this one individual tile. It's better just to build up a massive equipment and then just attack and then live through the pain, which I'm currently doing. I also feel like this game incentivizes mass attacks because it builds up your military experience and means that you can upgrade your doctrine a lot better and get out of it, which is very World War One-y, the idea of just like turning troops out so you can learn and adapt and evolve your doctrine, which I quite like the concept of. Yeah, that's what I like. See, that's why I'm so, what do you call it? I'm so twisted on the lack of supply. On the one hand, I like it because it creates a World War One sort of vibe, the idea of this grind. You know, this slow breakthroughs. You're not going to be breaking through very quickly. On the other hand, it also makes it so the Balkans tend to win. On the other hand, the Russian theatre's wrong. The Russian theatre is completely wrong. There's not a war of maneuver in the Russian theatre. It's just World War One Russia edition. You know, trench Russia edition. And on the east, it also means that the Germans don't really break through into Belgium on that. So On the one hand, it gives you that sort of World War One grind vibe, but on the other hand, it also doesn't give you the full World War One experience. It doesn't give you that unique change in theatre, which I find pretty bad. And also, when you get to late game, it becomes a bit of a nausea. Did I take the N in the end? I did. I think you could fix the issue by giving... Yeah, oh, yeah, you're right. I could give Russia a negative value. That's good. That's a good idea. I could save it, go off it, and then give Russia a negative value. That's a good idea. That's high IQ thinking there. Yeah, mid-1915. Yes, how you could do it early 1914 if you wanted to. And just, like, do Tannenberg. But yeah, that makes a lot... That actually works really well. And then for the French, you could do the same, like a 25% penalty, which you then gradually buff as the war goes on. And that's rather bright. That is rather bright. There you go. I should have thought of that beforehand. So, how long before the not Germans, the Austro-Hungarians capitulate? Let's take a look at the war. They are halfway to capitulation, so I'm probably going to need to take this as well. The saving grace is the fact that these guys should not be getting a lot of supply anymore. However, depressing for me is I'm running out of artillery, so I'm going to have to halt my offensive again. Still, we've achieved what we needed to achieve. Normally, you could argue that this would be the end of the war and that the Germans would be suing for peace and all that sweet stuff, which historically they probably would be. The Austro-Hungarians would have collapsed at this stage because of lack of war support and so on. That's something that perhaps they could try and stimulate as well, the collapse of war support in these states. However, it is what it is. Lose Budapest. Lose Budapest, you say? Let's give that a go. Let's send some troops to meet grind in Budapest. I don't need that many trucks. Let's upgrade our fighter bombers. Bomb, reliability, bomb. Lovely stuff. But yeah, I tend to find that normally the war's won by the Austrian collapse of supply, same with the Germans and that. But I just like how the theatre doesn't change very much. It takes ages for any breakthroughs to take place. Hello, Karim Ulez, is that right? Hopefully. If you're looking for action-packed gameplay, I'm going to have to let you down. It is very World War One grind. I've been sat here for the best part of, what, 2 hours? Just pushing. It took me about 4 years to break out of the Zonzo, so bear that in mind. But, yeah, and it's also the lack of supply here. So I don't really want to... I'm going to have to take Budapest, aren't I? If I'm honest. So I'm going to have to bite the bullet and put a supply hub down in Budapest. Yeah, unfortunately Turkey got the good news. Turkey sort of collapsed too quickly. Budapest and Prague, eh? Yeah, you're right. Budapest and Prague, that's the answer. It's just going to take me a while to build the supplies up. Ataturk, not yet. The good thing about this mod is after the war's over, you can move on to World War II. Like, they've got the research for World War II and all that stuff. I'm not sure if there's an event that resets the map and then and like gives World War I historical territory. I don't think I played that far along, but that's really interesting. Ataturk. I do very much like the Ataturk resurgence. I didn't actually take any of this. I didn't take any of this. The British took this, and then they just gave me the territory, which was a bit confusing. Also, the Bulgarians ended up invading Romania in a third Balkan War and won, and ended up with half of Romania, which is all wonderfully interesting stuff. And for some reason, there's an ungodly amount of troops just sitting around Constantinople. Why, I do not know. But hey ho. So next offensive, 28th of August. Build up our reserves for another offensive. I need to build an air wing as well. Do I need to build an air wing? What is my bomber range? Let's take a look. Oh no, we're fine. We're perfectly fine. We're fine. This is fun. Oh, I do need to build up an airfield a little bit though. Let's build it here. There we are. And then next step, we will go over and invest in... Why not? I know, it's just a bug of the AI. It's really depressing that the AI just does this. I don't know why they do it. It's just the nature of the beast with modded games. You've got to expect a little bit of bugginess. But you can see here, everyone's more or less out of equipment. It's just a case of... Hello, Social Whack, welcome back. Again, not the most entertaining stream, unless you just want to LARP with the Italians getting bullied. For the first 4 years, I was stuck here just doing like 4 battles with the Azonzo. I couldn't actually break through, and then eventually, I could see like the British and that invading the Balkans, and just making me look like a potato because they were actually breaking through in the Balkans, and I barely moved across the territory. I was LARPing the Italians quite hard. Yeah. Well, yeah, Sejuak, it tends to be that most of the time people watch the videos and not the streams, you know? Well, in other words, skill issue. Whoa. I was LARPing, okay? I was LARPing. I was too busy engaging with chat, you know? I was LARPing. Alright, so I'm probably going to finish it in December 1921. If we don't knock out the Austrians in 1921, we're going to assume victory, because I don't think we're going to lose anytime soon. But I want to hopefully knock out the Austrians. Let's try another offensive and give it a go. Wow. It's all green. I ended up just cheesing with Cath. Even in modded games, Cath is still OP. I'm not going to take Budapest. I may take Munich though. Yeah, they're just fully butchered. I mean, if I take Munich, that'll give me another supply point to push into Germany. And that will be sort of the growing end for the Germans. I think even in vanilla games, like the one thing that always destroys the AI is their supply. They will just brutally frontal assault constantly without a second thought as to their equipment, and then they just starve to death. If you just survive until they starve to death, you win. Hello, Munich. Easy breakthrough. Take this and connect to that. The Germans. Come on, Prague. 100 days. Give me my 100 days. Oh, what did I lose? Munich? Fuck you. The line's getting too wide. I need to shorten it again. Yeah, next time I take it, I'll last stand it. Oh, I'll just have to micro it. Yeah, so the Romanians got beaten by the Bulgarians in an ahistorical Third Balkan War, and then the Russians took it. Let's take a look. March of the Defenders. I think my favourite one's the Katushka one. Let's find it. That's not it. Empire of the Sun? We'll give Empire of the Sun a go. Where is that? Empire of the Sun. I'm not hearing a lot of music. Oh, is it coming in through now? Frog! Give me Prague. The Chad Empire of the Sun enjoys it. There's one I really like when you play the Soviet Union, which came out with what do you call it? Which came out with not one step back, but I can't remember the name. It goes like papa, something like that, you know. Oh yeah, this one's not a bad one. I'm sure it's Katushka. I can't find it. Yeah, I'm just winning it by attrition now. I'm just winning by pure, solid, hardcore attrition. I'm also losing because of pure, hardcore attrition. There's no supply here. Hello, Munich. Madness. Madness. Yeah, I think World War I is probably the most interesting of wars. Managed to form the Roman Empire as Italy in 1939. Now that was probably quite demanding because of the time limit to do it. It's been quite a difficult rush to achieve. I should really do more achievement runs, really, but I just don't want to because it's just too difficult. I don't want to do achievement runs because I don't want to keep on going playing an Iron Man and getting slapped. Oh, that'd be cool, Sedgwick. Oh, give me a shout when it's up, and just link it in the comments if you want, and I will pin it so people will admire your handiwork. Here, hammers, Wall Street bombing, interesting stuff. See, as soon as you see I get supply, I start dominating. It's just the complete lack of supply, but now it's like pure breakthrough. Yeah, Germany's out. Look, it's got no equipment. Before they die completely, I'll see if I can... actually, we'll do a bit of cheese right now. We're going to see what it was like for the Austrians right now. So if we go Austria, I'll tag tag... Is it Austria? Observe. There we are. And then we click this. And then we click Observe you. And then we switch to... You can take control of Austria-Hungary. And there we are. Let's take a look at Austria-Hungary. There we are. So what have we got? They have got 900k. So the manpower is not bad. But there's their equipment that's fucked. It's basically their full equipment. And their production's not bad either. They've still got 15 things. What's their research like? They've done no research into fighters. They're pretty far ahead for guns and that. Artillery's pretty good. No tanks. Yeah, pretty basic stuff. So yeah. So although it doesn't look too bad for the Austrians, but I feel like it's simply because they've lost a lot of troops. But it doesn't look like the Austrians are really out for the count. I mean, they've got 28% of stability and so on, so it's not too bad. My country bowls 1819 cursed pictures is based out of your videos. Lovely, thank you. That gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. Let's tag Germany, see how things are going for the Germans. Okay. 750k, not bad. Bruh. Yeah, they're fucked. It's ogre. It's ogre for these bad boys. What, are they scraping the bottom of the barrel? No, it's just limited conscription. The factories, it's mostly just their trenches getting slapped. And the rail lines being slapped. Production. See, I think here's the limiting factor. Oh, I think he meant you. Ah, okay, no ways. That's good. That's even better. Because my stuff is pretty dry. Early fighters, yeah. I think this is a big problem with the AI in this mod, is the fact that it's not very well optimized right now. It's a pretty problematic. So I can just produce air and just beat this mod, which is a bit disappointing. Still, it's pretty fun to LARP in World War One, but you know, you want a bit more of a challenge. You want to actually feel like you have a potential to lose, but this may be because this needs to be rolled back to a not one step back. Is it ogre yet? Please let it be ogre. I know, it's wonderful, but it's only because I got Munich. Like, it's the breakthroughs across the entire line, but what's going to happen is I'm going to get over here and there's going to be no supply. I need to go for Dresden. I need Dresden. Dresden, go! Dresden, go! Frankfurt. No supply in Frankfurt. That's the thing with this mod, because it hasn't been fully patched yet. There's actually no supply hub in Frankfurt, so it's just railways. So I don't know why. Maybe the modders were still trying to work out the supply system, so they put really high level trains here, but no supply hub. Which makes it very World War One-y, because no one makes any progress, but on the other hand, no one makes any progress. I'm not going to retreat or stop the offensive now. I'm just going to accept the situation. Please give me... I also need to... I'm going to try and knock out the Germans now. Over here. And reform the line. Attack. Yeah, they need to. It's a big mod, so I understand why it's still taking a while for them to get things in order. I think if you really want to appreciate this mod right now, you need to roll back the Hoi 4, which is a bit of a pain to do. So don't go away from this thinking this mod is broken. It's just that with the problem with these new expansions is that it takes a while for these modders to refix it. And that's the underlying issue. I need to build. Do I need to build this anymore? No. But hopefully, if your Redux mod is better, we will give that a go. Why am I building that over here? Build one here and one here. Actually, delete that. Delete this. Yeah. And then we'll keep going. See, now everything's slowing down horribly because there's no supply. Can I get to Dortmund? I doubt it. I doubt it. Maybe Berlin? See, it's got so bad that I'm no longer trying to knock out the Austrians. I just want to go where the supply is. I'm just going where I can feed my troops. That's dictating strategic planning right now. It's not, you know, how do we win the war? It's how do I feed my troops for a day? I'm going to rush for this supply hub. Pin it. That's the true level of strategic thinking. It's not. That's when you get to the real level of strategic mindset. Lovely stuff. And then I just keep one guy on here, and then that rail line. Then I get surrounded. And then I get broken out. This should be, yeah, we should be able to surround the Germans here. And that should knock out the Germans in this war. Yeah, look at that. Bruh. Reverse Schlieffen maneuver. Reverse, reverse around the Maginot. But they've got no equipment anyway, so, you know, it's just... they're ghost divisions, they're not actually real divisions. Come on, let me break through this. Let me just have something from this experience. Let me just get a big encirclement. Please. Please, game, just let me have this. Oh. Yeah, I'd say about 50% of the army's just gone. It's yeeted. It's been yeetest deletest. Card reverse. Card revs. Card revs, is that right? Oh, German Empire collapsed. Okay. So I get 50% of their stockpiled equipment, which means 4 guns. 4K guns. Okay, wonderful. Good. It's ogre. Let's take a look at the casualties before the war ends. So the Italians took 1.7 million casualties. The Germans suffered 7.8 million, of which Italy was responsible for 1.3 million. And Austria-Hungary took 5 million, of which I was responsible for 1.1 million, which is a much marked improvement from the Zonzo campaign, where I took excessive casualties. Now, however, what's going to happen is the entire world is going to pile up on poor old Austria, and I'm not going to be able to take it because the supply there will just collapse. I know, it's cursed. It's pretty fucking cursed. That the Austro-Hungarians are last men standing. You want a different song? I'll give you a different song. Let's go with Sacred War. Oh no, that sounds garbage. Let's go for the Italian song. Yeah. Yeah. Force attack. It's just Budapest. If I can just take Budapest, we're good. And I can finally end this torture. I can end the torment. The fact the Russians stayed alive is also rather amusing. Progress. That's what I love about CAS. The fact is, you don't even have to win the battle or have good troops. If you just stay in the battle long enough, the CAS does damage. Noobs think in tanks, you know, the higher IQ players think in air. No point having tanks if you're just getting bombed to pieces. Please. Exactly. Like, if you want to break the game, just crack out the CAS. In fact, if you really want to balance the game, I think Expert AI actually does a really good job of balancing the game. Expert AI actually does a really good job of actually making the AI nations produce air. The Ogre? So I highly recommend that if you want more of a challenge. Yeah, it's Ogre. Don't tell me Bulgaria is a major, thank God. World War I over, it only took 2 extra years. Maybe 3. So what do we need? We need, of course, South Tyrol, Trieste. Yeah, Slovenia. We'll take the coast. It's TRT. What does TRT mean? Take this, take this, take this. Bosnia. I can't wait for Bosnia to be a further problem. I want some... Oh. On one hand, I want to have nice borders. On the other, a couple million Italians died, and so should really be entitled to more clay. So, I don't know really what I want to... The border man in me wants to say let's end the deal, but the greedy child, I can't take Bosnia. It's been liberated. No, we'll accept this. Okay, let's take a look at the world. So we've got Bavaria as its own individual state. The German Republic didn't lose a lot of territory, I'll be real with you, Chief. They actually did pretty well at this World War. They didn't do too shabby. You'd think that, you know, they'd lose a lot of their territory, but actually they didn't lose a fucking thing. Apart from losing this, which they'll just get back to the referendum, they didn't really do too bad. Austria didn't do too bad either, I mean... it is Friedrich Ebert of the German Republic. Does he have any bonuses? No, he doesn't. Austria has got Gunther Schneider, national integralist and an economist. Now, these guys did a bit worse. They're sort of butchered right now. They've got Transylvania and Romania. This is awful. Just don't look over here. Let's look over here, okay? Like you've got Bulgaria that has some parts of Romania, but not all of it. You've got the Ottoman Empire that still holds some of the Balkans, in fact, gained some territory in the Balkans. After World War I, the Entente gave the Ottomans more clay. What? Liberalism? That's not a real country. That's not a real state. Liberalism under Mohammed VI. I love it. The great country of liberalism. When I think of liberalism, I think in Mohammed VI and faith in Allah. I love it. That's what I find funny about games like this. This is great. Syria, and you've got the Republic of Armenia, Serbia, Albania, and then the rest is pretty depressing. I mean, Hungary formed its own sliver of territory, but nothing too important. Who's in charge of Armenia? John Roberts. That sounds like a very Armenian name. Very Armenian. Then you've got Zafir al-Hijazi. So what I think happens in this mod is that after a period of time it will reset and you have actual historic territory, but I'm not sure how long it will take. I don't know if that disappeared or whether or not that reintroduced. But with the current patch, but I think what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to end up with World War 1930s borders, and then you can supposed to go theoretically and move on to World War II tech, so you technically be able to play the game throughout. Unfortunately, because it's the latest mod, because it's the latest expansion, I don't think it's going into place. I'll wait until December, but there you go. So altogether, a pretty fun game, even with the lack of supply hubs. I think it slowed down the game a bit and made it a bit more funny. Also, I think this was worth the hours of waiting, this liberalism. I should really take a picture of that. I'm going to take a picture of that. Let me get nice and close. I gotta love it. Where's my F12? Come on. Liberalism. There we are. The dream. We will do the Great War Redux as recommended. Oh, is there a focus for France or Britain? Let's tag Britain and let's tag England and see if they can do a focus. No. No, no. Or maybe it happens beforehand. Nah. Nah. Oh well. Oh well. Anyway, I will probably call it a day here. I don't think we're not going to continue on this without any supply hubs. I'm not going to be invading Russia without any supply hubs. I'm not doing it. I refuse to do it. So we will do the Great War Redux later on. Next time I'm on playing Hoi 4. Very fun game, very good mod. Just wait a bit or roll back your expansions. Build them. I'm not. How long have I been playing? I've been playing for bloody. How long have I been streaming for? I don't even know. I'll tell you the truth, I don't know, but I suspect I started streaming what, at 5 o'clock, so it's 5, 6, 7, yeah, 4 hours. Yeah, so I don't want to keep streaming because I've got work tomorrow. I'm a wagey, you know, so I got to go to work tomorrow. But I think I end at lunch tomorrow, so maybe after lunch I'll get on. We can do the Great Wall Redux. I don't know what other mods are currently updated. I did try Kaiserreich, but it was just too many events. Like I can read a couple of events, but when every month there's another alternate scenario event, it just like melts my mind. It's like I can't keep reading this because none of it makes sense to me. Whereas this is a perfect balance of not too many events. Who's in charge of this? I've already looked, haven't I? Yeah. What have the Spanish been doing this entire time? Nothing. But if you have any recommendations, just feel free to put them in the comments section and I'll take a look. I'm not going to edit this because there's no real point. And I'm lazy. I'm a lazy boy. I'll just take I've already taken a picture of good old liberalism, but I'm going to call it here. Thank you all for watching, gentlemen. I hope you had a good time. Hope you enjoyed, and look forward to hopefully more of this and eventually Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater once I can bring myself to play it, because I know it's going to be a long haul job. Nice. Well, enjoy, says Rack. Feel free to use it. Also, I'll show this to you as well. Here you go. Now you can use that for your cursed. You can use that for your cursed photo. There you go. You can have that to your video. Oh, there we are. There you are. Enjoy. Thank you. All right. Adieu.